teach an old dog new tricks. Hi, I'm Gail Rubenstein, the founder and CEO of a company called Retail Resilient, social selling for the car industry. And we help auto dealers, auto agencies, and vendors in the auto industry sell more cars, service more cars, and make more money using our social selling strategy. That includes TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and anything else you can think of. So if you're looking to invest thousands and make millions, we're definitely the social selling company for you. Like I said, who said you can't teach an old dog new tricks?
If you run a service drive, you know these days first impressions matter. But when your advisors are tied up with inbound phone calls, they tend to neglect their other, more important duties. And did you know 75% of all service calls are frequently asked questions and routine requests? Still, the average dealer misses up to 30% of inbound calls, adding up to a ton of missed service opportunity and increased customer churn. 68% of callers actually go elsewhere if they can't get through, which means you could be losing $60,000 to $70,000 every month in service revenue simply from missing calls. So who will pick up? Introducing Brooke.
Hi there.
Your best service scheduling assistant. Brooke is the first intelligent digital voice assistant to answer, handle, and appoint all of your inbound service calls. Hiring Brooke means absolutely no call goes unanswered, boosting your customer satisfaction and reducing your overhead costs. And talking to Brooke is like talking to a friend with human-level understanding and a friendly conversational voice. Her conversational intelligence is built on millions of actual service industry conversations, making her the easiest onboard you'll ever have. She can handle any volume of calls and follows your policies every step of the way, 24/7. That means even when the lights are off, Brooke is always on.
And I can do it without missing a beat.
You really do check all the boxes. Book with Brooke today. Visit Brooke.ai or call 866-942-1236. Finally, the perfect match.
Welcome to Loud Motorsport. I'm Crystal, the general manager here. So we're always hesitant bringing someone new in, especially with COVID and bringing a new company in and trying to get that launched and getting it launched the right way without having someone in store. Rapid Recon was able to give us the communication and the support that we needed from day one. Very fast to respond. It made it seamless from start to finish. Anytime that someone talks about a low volume store, they think that you can just walk around and not very many people to track down to get approvals. That's not the case. If we want to get the car through the process, we still have jobs to do. We still have customers to help. And this really puts it right at our fingertips and allows us to approve it instantly, even if we have a customer sitting in front of us. Since bringing Rapid Recon on, we have really improved our sales. It's allowed us to get the cars to the front line a lot quicker, which in turn gives us more volume. So we went from an average of 75 a month to now averaging over 100 just in a short amount of time. I would recommend Rapid Recon to anyone that is even remotely thinking about it. Thanks for stopping by today. For more information on Loud Motorsport, you can always go to loudmotorsport.com or stop in here in Minerva, Ohio. We ship all over the country.
Good morning. So here we go.
Morning, everybody. Well, it's quick there. So we have a bit of a long lead in. We owe everything for this to our sponsors to allow us to pay for the high-tech stuff that we have. So thank you for your patience, and we're going to get started here now.
All right. So this is Jeff's comic, so maybe he could talk a little bit about it.
Well, very interesting. This comment is today's about the metaverse. The title's at maximizing advertising in the metaverse, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Just like we proved, for those of us who've been around a little while, Don, you'll certainly know this. In the old days, it was whatever day it was, you sat down, did your ads, and there was the blowout sale, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then, of course, we went to online advertising, and same thing here, the same stuff. And of course, now this whole new experience in the metaverse, will this turn into that? So I found the cartoon quite entertaining.
And there's a number of different books on the metaverse. These are just 3. So if you're curious, you can definitely look up. But these are 3: Snow Crash, Neil Stephenson, Marching Towards the Metaverse: Strategic Communication Through New Media, and Matthew Ball, The Metaverse, I guess kind of the trippy one, How It Will Revolutionize Everything. So those are a few books on the metaverse. So go ahead with our disclaimer, Jeff.
So the views, our disclaimer is, because we have some stuff, and I apologize for that little bit of a lead in, because you never know how racy it gets. But the views of the guests and the audience comments of the Auto Hub Show are purely those of themselves and don't necessarily reflect those of the Auto Hub Show, Ian Nethercott or Jeff Polo. While we do our best to direct the commentary of the participants, we advise our viewers that there is a chance that something could be said or shared that may be concerning to some individuals. That's the brief one. If you'd like, please read our disclaimer online for all the in-depth legalese.
And now we're getting into the Metaverse Show. So go ahead, Jeff.
So thank you for joining us to our Metaverse Show. It's very interesting. The Metaverse, we have some incredible experts on here today that know way more. The bottom line is I know nothing, and Ian knows a little bit more than I do. But I found this meaning of the metaverse, and the term metaverse it's a portmanteau that combines the words meta and universe. It's used primarily to refer to an anticipated future iteration of the internet that's often hailed as Web 3.0. The evolution of the internet is expected to see the rise of online 3D or virtually integrated environments that provide users access to virtual reality and augmented reality experiences, which really is quite very interesting, because I found that once I read that, I understand it that much more. But but it makes more sense. The thing that made the most sense to me was the Web 3.0. And joining us today, speaking of Web 3.0 metaverse, are some great people. Metaverse, please excuse me. First of all, the person who was wildly hailed as being the first dealer to sell a car on in the metaverse is Brian Kramer, General Manager of Germain Toyota of Naples, Lincoln of Naples, and a heck of a lot of metaverse stuff, Naples, Florida. Brian, please say hello to everybody.
Hello, thanks for having me on. Apologize, I had to switch locations. My Wi-Fi was a little bit weak where I'm at. So I'm back in business now. Am I coming through clear?
You betcha. Hey, this is the meta world here, the quasi meta world. This is the online world where anything can happen, and it certainly does. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. A guest who's been here before is Monica Aurora Beers, the founder and CEO of Digital Monk Marketing in Calgary, Alberta. Monica, thanks for joining us. Say hi, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Monica. Thank you. You did a great job introducing myself, so thank you.
Perfect. Next, we have somebody new to the Auto Hub Show and a real thrill to have here, which is Shay Richburg. She's the co-founder of the FutureWise Group. She's a futurist and a lot of metaverse stuff too. From what I can see online is from New York, New York. Shay, please say hi and thanks for joining us.
Jeff. Hi, everyone. Hi, it's nice to meet you all. As you explained it, co-founder of FutureWise Group and the executive producer of 2 Metaverse podcasts. So I'm excited to be here with you all today. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. You know, I haven't had a chance to tune in and look them up yet, but do you do them from the metaverse?
No, I don't. I'm still in the real world, providing information about that virtual world.
Well, thank you. We look forward to getting this started and hearing more. We have another new person to the Auto Hub Show, Brooke Furness, who's the president and founder of BZ Consultants, BZ in the States, yes, Consultants Group and digital marketing consultant in Vernon Hills, Illinois, near Chicago. Brooke, say hi. Tell us a brief bit about yourself.
Yeah, thanks so much. I'm super excited to be a part of this and join all of you and your incredible, brilliant human beings on this. And yeah, you pretty much said it all. I live in Illinois and just, here as everyone here just to move this industry forward and move everyone forward. So that's in a nutshell what I do.
Perfect. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. We know you have podcasts, and I saw a little bit this morning, and it's great to have you aboard. And last but not least, is Gail Rubenstein, who's the founder and CEO of Retail Resilient, social selling for dealers, and I believe from a large city called Stuart, Florida, if I got it right, which is actually not last but not least, because I'll introduce our next guest after.
I think we lost him.
Yeah, I think we just lost him, but thank you for the intro, Jeff.
No problem. And then we got Don Graf, also from Florida. Maybe you can speak a little bit too, Don.
Hi guys, Don Graf. I'm in Bonita Springs, Florida. Don Graf Automotive Advisors. We help dealers become more profitable. That's what we do.
Fantastic. So first question for everybody. What the heck is the metaverse? Let's start with our resident expert, who's actually, my understanding, has delivered a car in the metaverse. Let's go ahead and start with. Where are we at here? 1 second. We're gonna start with Brian Kramer. So go ahead, Brian.
So I think it's still being defined as to what it is and I guess what it isn't, but it's an interconnected group of spatial, three-dimensional, two-dimensional worlds that it's built on a blockchain platform of NFTs and crypto and virtual reality, augmented reality, digital wallets, and everything in between.
So what got you so interested in it? I'm curious from a car dealer perspective.
I was actually trying to talk my new car director out of wasting his money, and I had to have a sit down with him, pulled him into the conference room, and he showed me the amount of money in his digital wallet. And I said, okay, what is this now? And I had to have him teach it. I realized that all these late 20, early 30-year-old people I was working with were making significant, 7-digit amounts of money in this crypto space. So it quickly got my attention. Ironically, I'm in the Bahamas right now. Another meeting, and it just so happens there's a crypto convention. So we crashed it last night and bumped into a bunch of these NFT producers, and it was a very interesting thing because there's a bunch of metaverse people here. It's like the first event for this, all these Bitcoin people from all over the world. It just happens to be in the hotel I'm staying at.
Wow.
So I was able to pick a lot of their brains last night. It was very interesting. But it's, all these people are 15, 20 years younger than I am. And I guess they're reverse mentoring me.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Jeff, I'll let you take over the question.
No problem. So actually, I'm going to turn to Shay on that question. What the heck is the metaverse? Because now you're like, he's the car metaversey person. And actually, what's the metaverse? But I have another question. What the heck are NFTs and what was the what's the thing? Blockchain. I know it, but tell us more.
Okay, so for me, the metaverse is a digital economy where people can go and engage with one another. They can trade, they can sell items on this online world. That's what I like to say. And they can use NFTs, non-fungible tokens, which are things from the real world that you can mint and put into the metaverse. And it really is, it's access to ownership over objects in the metaverse. What's an NFT? We talk about a lot of NFTs you might hear in the art realm. So it's a piece of art that you create in the real world. Just an example, one type of NFT, but there are multiple. So it's a piece of artwork you have in the real world. And as I said, you mint it and you put it on the blockchain and it's yours. And that NFT, you can sell it, or you can make multiple and sell it to different people. But it is always connected to you in this metaverse world. And as you all know, we all have avatars in this metaverse, unless we're in augmented reality, but we have these avatars. And so a lot of people are going to be using these real life objects. And so for these real life objects to get into this metaverse, we have to make a lot of them NFTs. And that is just being traceable to the creator.
It actually is very interesting. That really explains it very well. Thank you so much. So, Brian, as we already said, you've been wildly acclaimed to being the first dealer to sell a car in the metaverse. I'm going to ask you, how was the process different than what we do otherwise in car sales? And then I'm going to ask the other guests a slightly adapted question to this.
So I would say that particular transaction was very clunky. It's more of a learning experience than it is a transactional experience at this point. Web 3's, still Web 2.0 and 4G. So we haven't made the jump to 5G yet. So a lot of it's kind of like buying, trying to buy a car on a desktop website on a BlackBerry in 2006 is what it felt like. It was that type of slowness, latency, the processing power, but you can at least begin to visualize. It's kind of like I was talking to somebody earlier about live chat, and he goes, back in whatever it was 10 years ago, everybody said chat's going to be the next big thing. Everybody pushed back on it. We were going to have to do it anyway, but instead of embracing it, we kept on taking off our website. It's not going to make sense. But this is, trying to do these confirmation biases to prove why it wasn't going to work. And there was a lot of cases where you could have that example in the metaverse. You could have plenty of examples about it for that. But the metaverse right now is a metaverse is $23 billion virtual reality and all that stuff is $23 billion business. There's a bunch of companies say it's going to be $700 billion by 2026. Citibank just said it's going to be $13 trillion by 2030. So, when Bezos got into the internet, they said, well, how did you know? Because I didn't know. I just knew there was going to be that much growth. And I needed to be somewhere near it. I don't know where it's going, but I know it's going somewhere. And I guess that's where I'm at with the metaverse. I don't really know where it's going, but I know it's going to be big. And I'm just going to hold on, try to hang on to the bottom rung and just not let go.
Yeah, that's a good point. And, it's funny. I'm starting to realize this. While it's a different way of doing things, it's still doing things, isn't it? It's like, I remember when we first started doing internet selling, it's like, crap, nobody's going to do that stuff. And we're still doing it, but nothing's really different except how we do it. Dawn, what's your opinion on this? How likely, do you agree with Brian that this is going to become a significant way to do the car business?
I think, I went on the Acura site and it only works on desktop currently. It wouldn't work on my iPad or my phone. I think once those aspects are overcome and it becomes a truly mobile experience, I think it will start to take off much faster. So I noticed when I was working with it on my Mac that you need to have greater graphics possibilities. And like Brian's talking about, people that are into this are 10 or 15 years younger than him. They're people that are gamers and they're playing with sophisticated graphics software already that is capable of embracing the metaverse in a much faster way. So it's not as clunky as we're experiencing it, especially for Brian and an IR in Florida. We don't have the greatest experience with 5G. If I go out my backyard by the lanai, I have 1 bar. If I go to the front of the house, I have 4 bars. If I go to the public supermarket, I have five bars. It's a half a mile away. It's kind of ridiculous.
Actually, I think, and I'm only joking about this, but in Florida, I'm sure you got a lot of people with tinfoil over the windows and stuff like that, and whirligigs with tinfoil to stop that. So just kidding. So Brooke, what's your opinion on this? Because I know you're a bit more of a futurist than some of us old car people are, but tell me what your position is on this and how likely it's become significant to the car business, not car business.
No, I think that they're all amazing, great points, and they're all on point 100%. I was talking to a friend that introduced me to a colleague that took it from a non-car perspective. And that was, for me, it was really, really good to see that, because this is, to me, it was newer. And that's where it tripped me up a little bit, because I just thought, hey, virtual reality, it's the headsets and that's it. And he goes, no, that's not it at all, Brooke. This has been around for decades. Like he goes, we've been in this virtual reality world for over a decade. And that term metaverse, it's not a Facebook thing. That term's been around for over a decade. And I go, seriously? So talking to him and his colleague, they've developed all these different ways of how to even create these worlds. Because in my talking with people, it was, oh, you're going to need to have so much money to make coders. And he goes, and this colleague of mine, a now friend, he just said, no, like our software, no, it's just you click a button and the trees change color. You want to make a car, the car now, he goes, obviously you're in the industry. In a matter of like 5 minutes, he had an entire Taj Mahal. He had a Tesla looking car, and it's all based on the capabilities of cars. So this just got us talking a little bit more like, what is the capabilities that we can see this, whether it's in our industry, in the auto industry, or in other industries. And so to say, where's this going? I think that's still very open-ended because there's so many possibilities. Yes, Brian and what he's doing is incredible. You just saw Kevin Fry just do the first transaction in crypto. And so there's just, I think that going back to, I'm being redundant and repeating myself, but I do believe that we don't know quite yet where it's going, but meeting the customer exactly where they are in their journey. At first it was, oh, digital retailing. Well, that's such a freaking buzzword. Well, what is digital retailing? So we're meeting them there. Well, now if they're in the metaverse, meet them there. Does that mean that they have to have the headset on? No, because it's wherever they are, and having a clunky headset on at all times, that gets, do they want to have it on for 4 hours? No. Do they, going back to what, I think Doug, right? Graf, was that your name? I apologize. Don, sorry, apologize, Don. What Don was saying is that whether it's on mobile, whether it's on desktop, whether it's on the headsets, wherever it is, meeting the customer exactly where they are at the right point, at the right time, with the right message, that's really what I see it going. So whether taking it one step further is, so we get a car and go like DVDs, you'd got the little token to say, hey, now you can stream it online, you can watch it online. I think cars will be the same thing. Like the fixed ops portion of everything is huge, right? So being able to purchase your parts and your fixed ops, that's going to be a portion I would see the auto industry going that way, is saying, hey, I see a Mercedes behind Don and saying, hey, I got this Mercedes. I really want I didn't get the floor mats with it, or I didn't get this really cool, accessory with it. Having the ability to then purchase that in the metaverse, that's big. Or being able to, actually talked about this, the show that I did was like 2 hours long. We had to cut it down to like 20 minutes, but we talked about being able to race the cars. So if I want to race the Mercedes with my buddy who's across the street who has another Mercedes or a Beamer, being able to race that. So the interaction. So I just think that's right now it's limitless what we can do, and we just don't know. So I don't know if that answered your question, but that's kind of in my mind where I kind of see it going.
That helps a lot. Although I have to say the Mercedes behind Dawn is actually the first car that was done in Bitcoin transaction. It came from Colombia to the south of Florida, and it was full of something else. But moving right along, Monica, your opinion on this, how likely is this going to become a big thing in the car business?
It's 100% going to become a big thing in the car business. It is where the future is. It's where people are going to be shopping for vehicles and other retail items. What Brooke just said, and I think she's dead on. This is the future. This is either you get on board now or you get on board when everyone is getting on board. So it's definitely not going anywhere. Just like the internet, when we first thought the internet came, like, who's going to use this? Well, same thing, the metaverse. We might not know the end game. We might not know exactly the path it's going on, but we know it's going to be big. There's no doubt about that. So, my only advice is get on board now, and don't be a late adapter.
So tell me, how likely is it going to be that there's going to be a gamer sitting in Miami playing in a game, and all of a sudden out of the corner of the screen pops up Brian Kramer saying, come to see me at Germain Toyota. I'm going to give you 40%.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. We can meet people where they're at, just like Brooke said, and I couldn't agree with that anymore, is that if that is the future, how do we advertise to these people? we have so much information, we have so much detailed targeting about these people in the metaverse. It just seems like a natural fit for advertisers and a natural fit for car dealers as well. Any really retail store to show up and talk to their audience so directly. It's not a cold audience anymore; it's a warm audience, which is a dream for marketers.
Oh, for sure. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you very much. Gail, so tell me something. Are we going to be seeing Retail Resilient popping into some normal human being? I won't say gamers because they've been a virtual reality for a long time. But where do you think that's going to affect your business?
Yeah, great question. So we're social selling for the car industry and we do all things on social. And so as this metaverse kind of popped up, I thought it was interesting because to me, it's a functional economy, right? Like it's a functional VR economy where with the exchange of goods and services. So I do think I kind of agree with Monica and Shay and everyone, like you got to transition, you have to move through the processes. The dealers we work with have started to ask us like, what do I do about this? How do I use this system? How would you set it up? So from our standpoint at our business, we're probably going to put together like a best practice. We always do best practices for TikTok, best practices for Facebook, best practices for Instagram. So we'll eventually have something for the metaverse as we get to know more about it. But I could probably sit and pick Brian's brain. Like if he gave me an hour of his time, I would love to pick his brain for an hour of like all the nitty gritty details of what they went through to get that whole system set up. But yeah, it's just something we're going to add to our portfolio of services. And I think most marketing companies, agencies, or in our case, like we're a school, are going to eventually have classes for it to teach car dealers how to do it.
I have to say that the opinion I'm getting now is the metaverse is going to become is going to allow the resurgence of the old car salesman 6-position sell of a presentation of a car in the metaverse. Ian, take it away.
You're right. That's accurate.
Really? Interesting. What is the difference between the metaverse and alternative reality? Let's start with someone different. Let's start with Brooke on this one.
So you're saying between all, well, I'm knocking my mic around there.
Alternative reality and metaverse.
So with
or whoever you call it.
Well, there's difference. So you've got all, when you're talking about metaverse, there's the metaverse. Then you've got VR, this is the actual, headsets and whatever. So there's all different types. So I guess the question with that would be, are you looking at going in on a desktop and creating your virtual world? And then your actual virtual world versus having the headsets on. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I mean, when you're looking at, I'm looking back to what was virtual reality back in the day, and now obviously it's more environment centric, and it seems to be more gamer centric, being that's sort of how that evolved. But what's the difference from a layman's point of view? Like, what do you think?
I would say when you're making, and Brian can, I'm sure, speak to this as well, or anybody on this panel, to be quite honest, but from my understanding is that when you're making any of these worlds, it's so much easier from every expert that at this point for whom I've spoken, is that when you're making it, it's so much easier to do it on whether it be a desktop or a laptop, whatever, because it's just easier to do that. And you're not going to be wanting to make it with the actual headset on. It's just, once again, it's clunky. You don't be wearing those for 4 to 5 hours while you're making it. It's just easier. Once you're in that, then if someone goes into the world, you can, talking to someone on Friday even, and every Friday he goes to a concert in the metaverse. Now he can either do that on his device or on his headset. But he goes, if it's like a 3-hour concert, I'm not going to do that with a headset on. I'm going to do it. We all get together on Friday and we watch this concert because I do it on my actual computer. So those are the difference between actually going into the world with the headset on or on the desktop, laptop, whatever it may be. I hope that answers your question.
Hopefully. Brian, what do you think?
So, all this stuff is a different building block of, of the metaverse, but there's all this technology about to come out. I've got these Ray-Bans right here. And these Ray-Bans, if I put these things on, I don't know if they're turned on, but if I put these things on and I hit this button, that light that's on, I'm recording this video as I'm walking around. This is connected, tethered to my Facebook account.
And
So it
looking
goes into
cool at the
Facebook's,
same time.
huh?
And looking cool at the same time.
But this is by Ray-Ban. There's all these barriers of entry, like everybody's been saying, but when Apple comes out with these, which is going to be in the next 12 months, that's going to really be a tipping point in terms of what is able to be done. But unlike virtual reality, where you can't see in front of you unless you have a digital twin of like your laptop in front of you, which is part of how Gail, how we did that transaction is with a digital twin technology. But the augmented reality is going to be, I think, more adopted much sooner. So we, at our Lincoln store, and actually our Toyota store, we have what they call Microsoft HoloLens 2. Now the problem is the barrier to entry on that's like they're $3,500 for these glasses. But here's how it works. Let me rewind for a second. For the glasses, we all are already using augmented reality. Anytime you want to buy it on Amazon, you want to put a TV in your house, or you want to see what furniture looks like. If you want to look at Warby Parker glasses, we've been using, you use a Snapchat filter. They say 86% of Americans have already experienced augmented reality. 86% because of face filters or just any kind of something like that, right? Instagram, whatever. So people have already started becoming adopted to it. QR codes are a version of that. So everybody's been slowly getting acclimated. I mean, I had QR codes in the back of my business card back in 2011, but nobody would use it because nobody knew what it was, and it wasn't easy, it was clunky. So now you're going to be able to use your phone, and this is being built as we speak by these OEMs. A lot of them already have it, where you can get in your car, instead of having a owner's manual that's this thick, you can just take your phone and just scan it over the interior of your vehicle, and it will pop up a three-dimensional thing. You click on it, if you have these glasses, and you can move it around to see, okay, and it'll pull up and walk you through how to use your nav system. And everything's so much more intuitive. It changes the whole dynamic of product presentations. It also changes, first phase, which is what we're doing currently, or trying to work to build it out, is technicians remotely, a field technical specialist looking at what the technician's looking at through them. They can highlight bolts. They can highlight a drive belt. Here, take this torque wrench. This is what I'm going to be talking about at Digital Dealer. And then take it down to 15. Now you can actually, kind of like what we did to deliver that car with digital twin technology, you can have a tool bench with everything in its rightful place with virtual reality and be fixing a car without being able to see any of it, completely blind. So, and then really in the next, this is all going to happen real quick. And the 5G and stuff and the Web3 is really just the only barrier to all of this stuff just exploding. But the next thing that's going to happen is you'll have hologram technology. So you'll have like a closet size room where you will stand, a technician will stand in their apprentice tech, and you could have somebody who their shoulders are shot, they're semi-retired, they're up in the mountains, in a cabin somewhere enjoying life, and they can choose, so many hours per day to help out technicians, get paid a crazy high rate per hour for what's in their mind to help them fix internal combustion cars.
Wow, that's mind-bending stuff. Monica, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. It's going to change, how we do everything. Just to Brian's point, to how we shop, to the servicing, to understanding how to use different features in our vehicle. We're not going to have a clunky manual that no one ever looks at sitting in your glove compartment anymore. It's going to be on your phone where you're interacting with it, where you can ask questions, where you can see frequently asked questions, where you can learn the different features of the vehicle. There are a ton of people out there who buy the vehicle for all of these features and never end up using it because they don't go through the user's manual. They don't understand how to use them. So half the technology is being underutilized in vehicles. This is really going to help people use the technology in the vehicles that they're purchasing because the information is much more accessible. It's user friendly and it's interactive. So we are going to see people actually using the technology they purchase in their vehicle just because the information is a lot more accessible. And also in the metaverse, you can connect with other people with the same vehicle. And now you can compare notes, being like, hey, this is what I'm doing with my vehicle. And you can create more of those sense of community with the people with the same vehicle. Like, back in the day, there used to be a lot more car groups of people who would purchase similar vehicles. And, there was a following. Metaverse is going to allow that following to come back and really talk about those vehicles, talk about the features, and have, that strong, it's like Honda Civics, the Civic Nation. It was such a big thing. I think with the metaverse, we're going to see a lot more of those. It's going to be another opportunity for dealers to advertise there. It's going to be a different opportunity for dealers to facilitate those types of groups, to create that passion for those vehicles again.
Wow. Dawn, what do you think? You're muted.
I think he's on mute.
There, now I can enhance my own communication with the community. That was the point I was going to try and make.
So what do you think about VR versus metaverse?
I think more people will be embracing the metaverse. It's more dynamic. There's more things you can do with it. There's more creativity. I mean, I'm just envisioning when I was on the Acura side, I'm thinking, wow, billboards, you're being able to use the technology with all different colors, the artists, the conveyance of getting the thought process across to people is just going to be immense. The visualization, people react to imagery a lot more than to just the words. I think when you start to be able to really put creative messaging together in a buy-sell environment, I think it's going to be very cool.
Very, very cool. Trying to think. Who is the next person? Our famous podcast host in the metaverse. Give us your thoughts.
That me?
Yeah. That's you, famous. Two podcasts.
Hey, we have to apologize. Ian's had a rough week. As we said, he got the flu, so his brain's just winding back up. Mine has always been where his is right now anyways.
Go ahead.
I think this is the obvious next step. What everybody is saying makes sense. Everything is clunky now, but there are car companies working to meta mobility. Car companies are BMW has made a digital twin in the metaverse of their actual factory. And so they're actually using the metaverse for higher productivity. They're syncing with engineers and robots within there. So the productivity is going to speed up. And then we have people who are going to be engaging more and more in the metaverse. See, we have a whole infrastructure system that the president is pushing, and this is actually going to help people have access to 5G. As Brian said, we're going to have glasses in the future. So it's going to be much easier for people to access the metaverse instead of just VR. The metaverse is the whole shebang. It's VR, it's augmented reality, it's everything. It encompasses all of it together. So I feel like in the future, people won't even have to stress about wearing these VR goggles. It's going to be bigger than that. It'll be really simple. It'll be at the level of just having on a pair of glasses. And when we talk about the metaverse, we talk about the omniverse, and there's lots of physical sensors that people will have. So when we talk about marketing in the metaverse, there's a lot of opportunity where so many panelists have said, and I agree with everything everyone has said, we'll get to the point where we'll be in the metaverse and people will have the opportunity to actually see the inside of cars and to actually smell it too. I know people working on this in the metaverse, having the ability to smell what you see, even feeling the wind in your hair if you're able to race within the metaverse. As Brian said, all of this is being worked on. So you really need to learn about this now before it's something that's going to be forced. It's not going away. It's obviously not just in the car industry. People are spending millions of dollars to use the metaverse to change the whole education program. So everything is going to change. As you said, I've been studying future trends for years, and the metaverse is really just that gateway in getting us to look at life a bit differently and to actually help us access things in life in a more easily manner. So it's going to happen, and there's great opportunities for it within the car industry. I think people are going to be welcome to it. I think the dealerships are just going to have to figure out now, as I think Monica was saying, targeting the audience. And in the metaverse, it's easier because you have the data there, and you have the people who are open to these new experiences, and we've had the experience of the pandemic, and we don't want to find ourselves, ever in another lockdown. But if that does happen, then you have to prepare yourself. All these car dealerships have to prepare themselves to still be able to sell their product, or whoever you are. And the metaverse is that gateway to allow businesses to still thrive. So I agree with everybody. And, there's a lot coming that's going to add and make this very accessible for a lot of people.
Thanks for that. Gail.
Yeah, these dealers are going to have to be what I would call retail resilient. So,
What? You're absolutely right.
That is literally, so one of the reasons why I named this business Retail Resilient is because car dealers are the most resilient people I have ever worked with in my life. They have the ability to adapt. They have the ability to change. They have the ability to move things forward in the economy. And I feel like most car dealers I've worked with in the last 25 years have been pretty cutting edge. So it's really cool to see that Brian's way more ahead of the curve than a lot of car dealers, but they are definitely retail resilient people. And the one thing that I am so curious to see that I'm really, really intrigued about is how it's going to affect the banking system. Is it a decentralized banking system? How's it going to affect how we function in terms of the exchange of money and the finance system? So I'm really looking forward to seeing what's going to happen.
I talked to the people that are building that, ironically, last night.
Okay.
And what they were saying is that everything's going to get, and the interesting thing is that in order, no differently than what Monica was saying about making it experiential versus transactional. Last night, I'm down here in the Bahamas, and they have this Bahamas crypto event with people all over the world that are just happen to be here. So we figure out how, what is it that is required, because it's invite only. There's heavy security. They got Pitbull playing there, and they're obviously well capitalized. And I'm like, well, I want to get in there. It's really exclusive. So all of a sudden, my valuation, I guess, of it went up. So I'm trying to figure it out. So I had to buy this NFT. It was a Yakuza Panda. And I'm trying to figure out how to connect this on this other Polygon blockchain versus the Ethereum blockchain. And it was a lot. But once we got up there, you just show them, hey, I own this NFT. Okay, you're part of the club. So now, which also will go up in value, and it doubled in price last night after the transaction because people were reselling them on OpenSea, which is their version of eBay. So NFTs also, have smart contracts like cryptocurrency does. So it's very interesting how everything comes together. It's how you buy property in the metaverse is on a smart contract. But last night, as we were talking about it, they said Automotive, we see people staking the crypto as an asset. So let's say you have $100,000 worth of crypto. And by the way, there's 20% of millennials use crypto towards a down payment on a mortgage in 2021.
Wow.
So, and that's only going to increase. But so they said, and these people are mid-20s or something. I mean, it was crazy, but they're, obviously insanely wealthy already from just all of this space, how quickly it's exploding. Enough to hire a lot of entertainment. There's a bunch of other acts they have coming. So as I'm talking to them, they said, so $100,000 in crypto, you asset collateralize that instead of the car. So if you bought a car, you have $100,000 in crypto, you need $50,000 for the car, you would use that as security-based collateralized asset. We'll keep your crypto, you pay us back a payment. So instead of they keep the title, they keep your crypto. And if it's 50%, you get a better rate. If it's 30%, you get a better rate. If it's 70%, the rate goes up. But for a thin file, 25-year-old person like the people I was talking to last night that don't have credit, but they have tons of crypto, there's actually the company Kevin Fry used is about to launch that same product in the U.S. So the same way I remember in the mid-90s and early 90s when leasing came out, and everybody trying to wrap their minds around, wait, what? Am I renting the car? Do I even own it? What is this? And it's very much the same way. It's going to, I mean, really expand everybody's mind, and it is going to decentralize everything. It's going to because you have smart contracts, you have blockchain. It's very similar to e-contracting right now with all of our lenders. With e-contracting, there's no mistakes because you have to do it right the first time, which is the whole problem with most of the way we do everything. Is we try to shortcut things, and there's not a common ledger. To blockchain is going to change everything as well. I just registered my watch on blockchain, and so if somebody goes in a pawn shop, it's going to that, Carfax has to wonder what that's going to do to them. If everything's on the blockchain.
Brian, it almost seems, or for everyone, that like it's from like a monetary perspective of like a decentralized banking system, it's shifting the power from government to the people, where the people are going to almost control the what's going on with the money in our economy. And it's just going to pull, all that control away from the government. And it's starting to work. So based on what you're saying, it's definitely starting to work.
The people I met last night were more, they were so over my head, and they were so intelligent, the way that the things they were talking about. But I would I don't even know these people, but I would trust that. I promise you, they know more than a lot of people in Treasury do about financial systems, or at least mathematics.
Thanks for that. Jeff? I don't know how to follow that.
Let's go here a little bit and go sort of do a little bit of car people talk here. So when the internet became a big deal for customers to shop and interact with dealers, it all came to this craziness in the dealership. It's like the old days of phone lead. And so you had people in the dealership that were, some dealers were round robining their people, just letting whoever's up it was to handle an internet lead. Some made an internet sales department. What manner of chaos is this going to cause in dealerships as to who's going to handle the customers? And I'll go to Gail on that first of all, and we're going to move through the car people first, then go to Shay, actually to Brooke, who's car and other stuff, and end up with Shay on it because she's going to have a different view. Gail?
Well, in my world, all the salespeople are going to go to our school and we're going to teach them how to do it. But that's in Gail's world. That might not be in everyone else's world.
So Gail, what you're telling us is in your world, they're all going to come to you so you can go to the next convention that Brian met those people at. And
we're going to train the salespeople to handle the leads, handle the metaverse. So that is what we teach them now. We teach them how to social sell. So how do you start a car deal on Facebook, and how do you close a car deal on Facebook? How do you start it on TikTok, and how do you close it out on TikTok? So whether it's the metaverse, it's the same thing, right? It's how do I start a car deal in the metaverse, and how do I close it and move the customer through that sales process using a virtual platform. And that is literally what we do. So in my world, we would just help them and teach them how to do it.
Well, Brian, I'll jump to you on this one then. And you're ahead of people on it. And by the way, I have to congratulate you because a lot of people in the car business say, yeah, I did. The first thing you said was my new car director wanted to do this. And that was good. Good for you. So where do you think we're going to go, and who's going to handle this?
So to that point, I always sit down and ask my team about it because I come up with some really crazy out there ideas. Don has walked into our dealership and seen us in the conference room, and we debate, and it's expected that we confront each other and call each other out on what's not going to work before we make fools out of ourselves. And there's nobody, they better call me out on it because I throw some really abstract things out there. And if they already know that if there's a landmine, they need to tell me about it, not just sit there and go, yes, which they never do, but, just say, yes, okay, we'll try it because they don't want to hurt my feelings. It's quite the opposite. They are very critical, as they should be. But to answer your question, I agree with Gail, and I agree with what Brooke said earlier. We need to meet the customer where they are. And I look at it like this. I look at it like all of this that you're talking about, internet, metaverse, social selling, is all part of a plumbing system. And every time you have plumbing, if I add extra beds in the back of my backyard, and I want to put some trees out there and put some mulch around it, I'm going to run my sprinkler system. I'm tapping the main system, take it out there. I might put 3 sprinkler heads out in that bed, and that's it. So the plumbing's already built. So what we did with digital retail over the last 3 years allowed us to build the plumbing. Everybody goes, why are you doing this? Because 2% of the people want to do this. You spend all this time doing this, but now we've got it built so that I don't see it being any different. It's just another source of a lead coming in, and then it just comes down to the same way we handle, no differently than Gail just said, everything else.
Okay, great, thank you. Monica, you have client dealers that you advise on this, and something I've picked up today, a big deal I picked up today is, as foreign as this is, it's going to be just another way of doing business. And it sounds like it's going to come really, really quick. How do you advise your dealers, and what's your opinion how they should handle the leads coming in?
Well, I think it's getting them on board. There has to be a buy-in first, right? Because there's a lot of dealers who, maybe aren't as progressive as Brian is, and understanding that this is the direction that we have to go. So it's actually just educating them first on understanding that this is a direction that this platform is going, and dealers are going to have to follow it, because otherwise you're missing out. It's a huge opportunity. It's a huge opportunity for all retailers, and especially in automotive, because now we can be interactive online and create an experience that that you can get online without being in the dealership, and actually a very enhanced online experience, probably in many ways easier than a dealer experience. So it's one of those things that we have to educate our clients, understanding why you need to be there, how important it is for the future of the dealership and business, and then finding the steps there to get there. So it seems very overwhelming at first when you talk to dealers about it, but when you break it down and you're showing this isn't going anywhere, when you have these huge investors going into the metaverse, it's going to be big. Microsoft is not going to be investing, one of the biggest investors in the metaverse, if they didn't see a future in this. So I think it's really leaning into the educational part with the dealers and explaining that this is the future.
That makes sense. Of course, I think back to the video we ran before we did the live show of Bill Gates sitting there talking to David Letterman, and there was a very fresh-faced young kid wearing the same sweater he probably wore last week. And so I know we even today we still have dealers that are saying they don't want to do a digital transaction, that the internet just take the lead and phone them and move on. How are we going to combat this resistance to this? Because it's very funny, because as I already said, I have a different view of this today, literally in this last 45 minutes of talking to people, than I did beforehand. So how are we going to combat that narrow-mindedness?
Hey, Jeff.
Drag them through the mud.
Jeff, you asked how are we going to handle the chaos? I don't think there's going to be chaos. I think with every situation that ever arises, it's just a matter of what kind of processes and what kind of culture the dealer has. If you look at a timeline of history, thousands of years there's been intelligent life on Earth. They say the development all happened in like the last 8 seconds. Don earlier said, I'm looking for 4 bars. Well, if that was 40 years ago, it meant he was a drunk. He was looking for bars. And I know a guy who had one of the first cell phones. It was like carrying a briefcase around. So now that it's here, now that it's being introduced, now that everything's accelerating, the DeFi of finance and everything, I think Brian, you said something and I had a smile. You said when leasing came up, I had guys that were quitting because they couldn't explain. When they told people you're going to have to start working with computers, a couple old vets said, screw this, I'm not getting involved. Why not?
That's how I got an F&I job.
Yeah. My hero's Ben Franklin, and he said, when you're finished changing, you're finished. This thing's here. People are not going to back away from it. And like everything else, it'll accelerate and get easier and easier. So the people that have their head in the game are going to want to do it and want to grab it as quickly as possible. I mean, how do you, once people understand what Brian Kramer did and that you can buy these things through the metaverse, who's going to want to not to do it? Who wants to feel like they're yesterday's news? So I think it's just a matter of not only supporting your salespeople and everybody involved, but holding them accountable and making sure there's a process. I think that's always the cure for chaos.
Thanks, Larry. Much appreciated. I think you got a good point. Monica, I'll just let you continue on that too, and actually address the things that Larry said here too.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with Larry. It's get on board or get left behind at this point. And that is, I mean, that is the simplest and the most truthful way of saying it is get on board. At some level, start learning about it, start educating yourself, and start understanding at what level you're going to participate. Because if you decide not to participate, it's going to be the end of your business, really, because this is the future. This is where people are going to be purchasing majority of their items, not just vehicles. So it's going to be a behavior that's learned. This is where we go get our things. This is where we interact with products. This is where we interact with people and gain knowledge. So if you're not a part of that equation anymore, you're losing on your traffic, you're losing on sales. So yeah, just right back to your point there is that it's not a decision anymore that should I or should I not, it's when.
Perfect. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Dawn, I'll go to you on this and then we'll go to Brooke and Shay.
I think the dealers that don't embrace it are going to be left behind. You'll see more acquisitions because they're not going to be able to compete. If you don't have all the tools, all the tools for someone to purchase, you can already see the dealers that don't embrace change are the ones that are being swallowed up, and their dealerships are less valued than the dealerships of the people that do embrace change and do grow.
I actually, believe it or not, I know a dealer today that won't let his salespeople have a computer out on their desk in the showroom.
Oh, I've been in those stores.
Yeah. And okay, so next we go to Brooke. What's your opinion on this?
First and foremost is I just got to say Blockbuster and Kmart. I'm pretty sure that they were not in the whole evolvingness. They didn't believe that, oh, Netflix isn't going to put us out of business. You look at Kmart, same thing. One of my favorite commercials was Kmart, and they had it was all about, I'm going to be very careful. I say this, ship my pants. And they had a whole commercial. It was hilarious. I loved it. And if they would have continued on evolving and marketing and doing all their things, they wouldn't have went out of business. So you look at all these companies that just said, hey, we're not going to evolve. We're going to stay set in our ways. Netflix is not a competitor. We're not concerned about them. They should have been. Blockbuster should have been. The internet, no, we're a-okay just faxing all of our leads, and we don't want to worry about that. Internet, it's not going to last. This is going to last, and it's going to only steamroll forward, as everyone on here has just said. So it's the same thing as going back. I think, Brian, you said something about chat. Before you make any change, though, you've got to go back to what is my process going to be? Because all of this is great and fantastic and wonderful, but if you go ahead and make that leap and have no concrete foundation of what the hell are we doing, then that's a big problem, because you've got to know, as stated earlier, who handles the interactions, who handles the customer, what's your process going to be, because is so key. So because this is moving forward and it is coming down like a freight train down towards all of us. So yeah, very, very important. And the process is so insanely vital and key and necessary, and every other synonym you want to throw in there. But just like everyone else said, this is not stopping. This is only going to go full force, and the clunkiness that is happening right now, that is only going to get better, and it's going to be more streamlined. So agree with everyone on here. Just and as everyone else said, just get your process in your house in order, because if you don't, you're going to be left behind. It's just a matter of time.
That's a great point. You know, when I early on, when I got into the car business, I was taught the 3 Ps, and the 3 Ps were people, product, and process. But these days it's going to turn into process, product, and people is kind of my guess. And thank you for that comment. And Shay, now we got the non-car person moving into the car people. And how do you think dealers should be handling this when they're getting, and I don't want to call it a metaversal lead, but it's going to be literally somebody sort of, in my opinion, maybe I'm wrong, coming into your virtual showroom and going, waiting for the salesman to go and handle them. Person. Oh my God, I'm so bad. Jay.
Well, first of all, like everybody said, I think a lot of people are going to be excited to move forward with getting their dealerships in the metaverse. I don't think it's going to be as chaotic as some people might assume it'll be. It is all about training their staff. And, I work with clients, I get clients in the metaverse. And so one thing that I have to address, once a dealership understands the importance of having presence in the metaverse, it's really important to understand your location, your size, and visualization of your dealership while in there. So that means, where do you want to have your location? Do you want your location next to a museum that's in there? Do you want your location in Decentraland or in Sandbox? So all of that on the metaverse side is very important on where a dealership would put their location in there. You really want to have your dealership location in a prime area where a lot of people will really have a lot of heavy traffic while in the metaverse. But it's something that I think a dealership would help, not just themselves, but their staff members too. We always want our team to be heavily invested and knowledgeable of the latest trends and things that really connect us to one another. And if we're not involving ourselves in a method to stay connected with different groups of people, it's a huge disservice to yourself and your business, regardless. And I did hear you guys say how people in the vehicle industry, are very resilient, and I'm sure they are. So I think there'll be very little pushback as soon as people understand the importance and what they'll be missing out. But once they do decide to make that jump over in the metaverse, it's important to sit down and talk to people like me and get a good understanding on, as I say, your location, the size, what it's going to look like. All of that is really important once you make that big leap over there. And that will trickle into your product, financial status in there too. So that's the other side that people have to understand, that big component once they get in there. But it's not going away, so jump in now once you have more real estate options. I'll say that because I'm in the metaverse so much. It's a good time to jump in now. It's cheaper now. You have more say as to your property because there's more places available, and all of that is going to change. It's changing every day. People who are in there right now, it's pretty amazing. You can go to Snoop Dogg Land, you can go to these amazing museums that's in there, and you want your dealership right there. When people come out and they come from, these amazing fashion shows, and then to see your top line automobile right there, so that's the marketing of the future. All of that is going to really make the car dealership of the future, as Brian is already in there. So that's my 2 cents.
It's also to your point. It's going to change everybody who's on this panel. The way you train, it will change everything you know about training and learning and education. It's going to be explosive.
It is. So good times, and it's fun. And I'm sure Brian can tell you, and I'll tell you, the metaverse will blow your mind. It's a lot of fun. I'm a speaker in the metaverse, and I can tell you guys, it's nothing cooler than speaking to a big crowd in my avatar. I'll tell you that. So it's going to blow people away when they're selling cars in their avatar, and talking to people. It's a whole nother dimension, that you really have to experience. And once people get in there, the consumers, they're going to love it. I guarantee you. So it's not going to go away. Embrace it because it's fun. It's just the next level of opportunity. So, yeah.
Thank you. I really do appreciate it. And we're getting down to near the end. And I picked up on a couple of things. One is that it's a big deal, but it isn't a big deal. It's just learning how to use it. It's just going to be another way to do it. Another one I picked up is what Brian said is there he is. He's got all these people that live in the virtual world with virtual currency, with gobs of virtual currency, and they still have Pitbull there at live instead of a virtual Pitbull. And so that's a great thing. I thank you all for joining us. It was tremendous. Nice to meet everybody, hearing great things. At first, I was also quite jealous that Brian's in the Bahamas, but then I realized up here in Vancouver, we have Whistler, an hour's drive north of here, and we go there like nothing, and people in Florida just go to the Bahamas for the same thing. Ian, I'll turn it to you to close off and have for final comments.
Yeah, great show. Learned a lot about the metaverse. Really looking forward to future shows on the evolution of, I guess, the process of selling everything. And really thanks to everybody for joining in, but more importantly to putting in their thoughts, because I think it's a brand new world, but more importantly, it's changing every day. And there's a lot of information out there that people aren't even looking at because they're afraid of change. And I appreciate everybody really reinforcing the fact that change is not a bad thing. And have yourself a great week, even if you're in the Bahamas.